The idea, what I call the Main Street Bank, the state bank, is to deal with the #1 problem facing business, small business, medium business in Michigan, which is lack of access to capital. The Wall Street banks just basically will not invest in Michigan. They have written us off, they've redlined Michigan, and it's my experience going around the state, and it's in the Kaufman Business Report. The #1 problem facing Michigan business is access to capital and lack thereof. Small businesses cannot get a loan. And so our recovery is really stuck in its tracks. Our economy is seized up because of this lack of access to credit. You can't, you're not going to get job growth because 70 or 80% of new jobs are created by small and medium-sized businesses. So we are being robbed of our recovery. They're enjoying a great recovery on Wall Street. They've got record profits again, bonuses are back. Here on Main Street, not so much. We are suffering. And Michigan is #1 as a place that they will not invest in. And yet, we send millions of dollars to Wall Street every year of our tax dollars. We have $1 billion in a demand deposit account at J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase will not invest in Michigan, but we have $1 billion of our money in a demand deposit account, which means that when I'm governor, on day 1, I can issue an executive order. On day 1, when I'm sworn in, I can get that $1 billion back and put it in community banks and community credit unions and get access to capital flowing immediately. But what I want to do is create this state bank, this Main Street Bank. Now that'll take legislation, but we can act immediately, and then we can act along the way to pool our money, some of it, in a state bank and backstop the community banks. You see, the community banks and community credit unions would like to be loaning, but they're facing onerous requirements from the FDIC. And so the state bank could participate loans, could back up the banks, the small community banks that want to be loaning, and allow mom and pop shops, allow access to credit so that we can begin to grow jobs and stimulate our economy on Main Street immediately. It's a program we just unveiled to sort of put some more meat on the bones of our economic plan. We've had our plan out there, and it's called Make It in Michigan for Free. Something that we've thought about and planned out. It's based on my experience. Nobody wrote this for me or came up with it. It's based on my experience and knowledge of the system. Make It in Michigan for Free. It's big, it's bold, it's what it's going to take to get investment back into places like Detroit and Flint and Pontiac and portions of Lansing, where we have old burnt out facilities, old warehouses and factories sitting empty. And in fact, we announced it in front of the old Packard plant in Detroit because that's exactly the kind of site we're talking about. We have aging infrastructure. We have dilapidated buildings, lots of them across our state in urban centers. And how are we going to get investment in Michigan? How are we going to convince businesses to come to Michigan and grow? And what will they grow? Make It in Michigan for Free targets manufacturing. That's obviously where the Make It comes in. We believe there's something special about manufacturing. Manufacturing helped put Michigan on the map in the global economy. Manufacturing put America on the map. GDP, gross domestic product. We need to make things. And what's really hurt Michigan is that we're making less and less. A lot of those manufacturing jobs have gone overseas. I'm not content to let all those manufacturing jobs leave, and I don't think it has to be that way. We're growing manufacturing in Lansing using incentives. Make It in Michigan for Free says that if you create something, you're going to make something in Michigan, and if you'll take an old dilapidated place, an obsolete property, that is, in many cases, not even much on the tax rolls. A lot of these are tax-reverted properties who've gone into land banks. We will try to get you the land for as close to nothing as possible. You may well get the factory and get the warehouse for free. And we'll tax you nothing for 12 years. If you'll make something, if you'll create jobs, and there'll be a minimum number of jobs, but if you create jobs where there once was nothing, and you create economic activity, and you refurbish a building, you'll have no taxes for 12 years. I think that will help rebrand Michigan, rebrand our state, rebrand our inner cities, attract businesses. Now, and that doesn't stand on its own. That stands with the rest of my economic plan. If you couple that with the other strengths that we have, if you couple that with reforming the bureaucracy so that you have one-stop shop for permits, I call it Permit Central, one-stop shop for state permits approval, so that we begin to move government at the speed of business and we become more customer friendly, more customer service oriented in state government. If you add that to the fact that we have cheap real estate now if they want to buy other things, or if they were looking to buy homes, you know, the executives or whatever, that now is the time. It's a buyer's market in Michigan. Look at our unemployment rate. Some people look at that as obviously it's terrible, we're leading it, but the fact is we got a lot of skilled tradespeople unemployed who are available to work. We actually have a pretty marketable position in Michigan when you add it with the streamlining government piece and the Make It in Michigan for Free. A governor, hopefully myself, I can go out and market Michigan now in a whole new way. Renaissance zones. I call it Renaissance zones on steroids. It's just beefed up. It's just that much more. And you know, we've had success in my city with the Renaissance zones. We monitor that now. There certainly will be, and that's part of our plan. And we monitor that in the city of Lansing, you know, and we've had very good success in my city. So, and you know, some people have said, well, what happens if somebody comes in and agrees to stay, you know, for 12 years, but they leave after 5? You know, then we'll have a refurbished building. You know, we'll be better off than we were, because we're talking, again, keep in mind, we're only talking about incentivizing new manufacturing in old buildings. So, you know, we're not talking about, we're losing nothing. These are buildings that are generating next to nothing, either nothing or very close to it in terms of taxes. So if somebody comes in and plans to stay for 10 and creates jobs for 5 years and leaves, I look at it like we've got 5 years more than we had. I mean, we're that much ahead. We're not losing anything. And I've talked to mayors all over the state and municipal leaders and, of course, you know, tax experts. We're not losing anything, because these properties require a degree of city services when they're abandoned. Abandoned buildings tend to catch on fire more than buildings that are in use. You still have to have police. A lot of these empty abandoned buildings can become havens for crime and problems. They tear down property value. So if we get these buildings, a lot of them reused, it is a net plus, even if the business doesn't last for 12 years. We've lost nothing. We've added some economic development and some activity for that time. I think that we've got a very difficult period here with the economy. Cities everywhere, cities, townships, school districts are struggling to make ends meet given the reduced property values and incomes of our people right now. So it's a real crisis. And it has been said, never waste a good crisis. I mean, this is an opportunity for us to implement some efficiencies among governments and among school districts that maybe we didn't push before because there wasn't the necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. Now is the time for us to be inventive and creative and more collaborative. You know, I say we need more collaboration, more coordination, more cooperation, and more, yes, consolidation. And all of those things, collaboration, coordination, cooperation, if done well, can lead to consolidation. You may decide, you know what, we don't even need 2 departments. Do we really need, if we have school districts close together, do they each need their own finance department, their own transportation department, their own personnel department? Or could some of those departments be merged under the county school district and let the county do some of the backroom, less visible, the administrative side of education? Could you coordinate those activities at a county level?